She covered a patient with her jacket. He woke up and changed her life forever. The sterile corridors of Memorial General Hospital seemed to stretch endlessly under the harsh fluorescent lighting, where Nurse Maya Rodriguez moved with the practiced grace that came from 5 years of caring for others during their most vulnerable moments. At 30, Maya had chosen nursing not for the steady paycheck, but because she understood what it meant to feel alone and forgotten in a place where healing was supposed to happen. It was just past midnight when she found him slumped in the uncomfortable plastic chair outside the ICU family waiting room. The man appeared to be in his mid-30s, with shoulder-length brown hair that looked like he'd been running his hands through it for hours. His navy blue shirt was wrinkled from what must have been days of wearing the same clothes, and the exhaustion etched into his face spoke of something far deeper than physical tiredness. Maya had seen this look before. It was the expression of someone watching a loved one fight a battle they couldn't help win, someone feeling powerless in a place where they were used to being in control of everything. Seer. Maya approached quietly, her voice soft in the way she'd learned helped families feel supported rather than intruded upon. "Are you all right? Can I get you anything?" The man looked up at her with dark eyes that held a pain so raw it made Maya's heart tighten with recognition. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice hoarse from hours of silent vigil. "I know visiting hours are over. I can't leave yet." Maya glanced toward the ICU doors, understanding immediately. "Family member?" "My daughter," he replied, the two words carrying the weight of a father's worst nightmare. "Elena. She's 8 years old, and she's been in there for 6 days since the car accident." His voice cracked slightly. "The doctors say the next 48 hours will determine if she's going to..." He couldn't finish the sentence, but Maya understood. She'd sat with enough families to recognize the particular agony of parents facing the unthinkable. "What's your name?" Maya asked gently, settling into the chair beside him despite the dozen other tasks waiting for her attention. "Vincent," he replied. "Vincent Alexander Russo. And I'm probably the last person in this hospital who deserves a nurse's kindness right now." The unexpected statement made Maya pause. "Why would you say that?" Vincent's laugh held no humor, only the bitter recognition of someone confronting uncomfortable truths about himself. "Because I'm the Vincent Russo, who owns Russo Development Corporation. I built half the commercial real estate in this city, including the shopping complex where Elena's accident happened." He looked down at his hands. "The same shopping complex where I've been fighting the city council for 2 years to avoid installing the pedestrian safety improvements they requested." Maya felt something shift in her understanding. Here was a man whose business decisions had potentially contributed to his own daughter's tragedy. "The crosswalk where Elena was hit," Vincent continued, his voice growing quieter. "The city traffic department recommended better lighting and warning signals 18 months ago. I fought it because it would have cost me 3 parking spaces and about $15,000 in upgrades." He looked up at Maya with eyes that held genuine anguish. $15,000. I spend more than that on business dinners in a month." Maya looked at this man who was simultaneously one of the most powerful people in the city's development industry and one of the most broken fathers she'd ever encountered. "Vincent, you can't blame yourself for..." "Can I?" Vincent interrupted softly. Elena was walking to the library after school, same route she'd taken dozens of times. But this time, because the lighting was poor and there was no warning signal, the driver didn't see her in time. His voice cracked completely. "My daughter is fighting for her life because I chose profit margins over pedestrian safety." As they talked, Maya began to understand that Vincent's presence in the waiting area wasn't just about staying close to Elena. It was about a father confronting the devastating possibility that his business decisions had endangered the person he loved most in the world. "Tell me about Elena," Maya said gently, recognizing that sometimes parents needed to talk about their children as whole people, not just patients. Vincent's face transformed as he spoke about his daughter. Elena loved books and horses. wanted to be a veterinarian when she grew up, and had recently lost her first tooth. She'd been excited about starting third grade and had asked her father if he could volunteer to read to her class. "I told her I was too busy," Vincent said, the regret evident in every word. "I was always too busy. Board meetings, development projects, deal negotiations. I thought I was building a legacy for her, but I was really just building excuses to avoid being present for the childhood I'll never get back." As the night grew later and their conversation deeper, Maya noticed Vincent beginning to shiver in the air-conditioned hospital corridor. Without thinking, she shrugged off her cardigan sweater and gently placed it around his shoulders. "Maya," Vincent said softly, reading her name tag, "you don't need to. Every parent sitting vigil deserves to be comfortable." Maya replied simply, adjusting the sweater around him with the same care she'd show any family member. "It's not about what happened before. It's about what you need right now to be strong for Alina." Vincent stared at this young nurse, who had just covered him with her own sweater, not because she didn't know about his role in Alina's accident, but because she saw a father who was cold and scared and needed basic human kindness. The gesture broke something open in his chest that had been sealed shut by years of prioritizing business over people. "Maya Rodriguez," Vincent said, his voice thick with emotion, "you've just shown me more compassion than I've shown this entire city in 20 years of development." "Compassion isn't about deserving it," Maya replied gently. "It's about recognizing that we're all human. We all make mistakes, and we all need grace when we're facing our worst moments." They sat together in the quiet corridor, an unlikely pair finding connection in the fluorescent, lit space between hope and fear. Maya shared stories of other families she'd supported through difficult nights, while Vincent talked about the father he wanted to become if Elena recovered, the changes he wanted to make not just in his business, but in his life. Eventually, Vincent's exhaustion caught up with him, and he drifted off to sleep in the waiting room chair. Maya's cardigan wrapped around his shoulders like a tangible reminder that someone cared about his pain. Maya stayed nearby throughout the night, checking on other patients, but keeping an eye on this father, who had somehow become important to her, in the space of a single conversation. When morning came with news that Alina had stabilized and would likely make a full recovery, Vincent found Maya finishing her shift at the nurse's station.
"Maya,"
Vincent said, approaching her desk with the cardigan folded carefully in his hands, and tears of relief streaming down his face. "Elena's going to be okay, and I want to tell you something." Maya looked up from her charting, seeing a man transformed by both near loss and unexpected grace. "Last night, you showed me what it means to care for someone without conditions," Vincent continued. "You covered me with your sweater not because I deserved it, but because I needed it. And I want to spend whatever time Alina and I have together making sure other families never have to go through what we've been through." What happened next was what truly changed Maya's life forever. Vincent announced his intention to establish the Alina Rose Foundation for Pedestrian Safety, dedicating his personal wealth and his company's resources to implementing safety improvements at every dangerous intersection in the city. But more importantly for Maya, he offered her the position of Director of Family Support Services, recognizing that trauma recovery required more than medical treatment. It required the kind of compassionate care she provided naturally. "I don't want to leave nursing," Maya said when Vincent explained the opportunity. "You wouldn't be leaving nursing?" Vincent replied. "You'd be expanding it, taking everything you've learned about caring for families in crisis and using it to prevent other families from experiencing the same crisis." Maya accepted the position, but continued working part-time at Memorial General, ensuring she never lost touch with the bedside reality that would guide her advocacy work. 6 months later, when local news featured stories about the dramatic improvements in pedestrian safety across the city, and the innovative foundation changing how businesses approached community responsibility, they focused on policy changes and infrastructure upgrades. But Maya always smiled when she saw those reports. knowing that the real story was much simpler and much more human. Sometimes the most important safety improvements happen, not in city planning meetings or development offices, but in hospital corridors at midnight, when someone chooses to see a fellow human being and respond with simple kindness. And sometimes the most healing thing you can do for someone is to cover them with your sweater and remind them that grace is available even in our darkest moments. In a world that often mistakes success for significance, Maya Rodriguez had reminded a powerful man that the most important legacy we leave isn't in the buildings we construct, but in the care we show for each other when everything else falls apart.